All right. Happy Monday morning, folks. Happy Monday morning, afternoon, depending on the time of day. If you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, give me a second. Let me just make sure we're good on all the platforms here. There we go. Mic check. Facebook, what's happening? And let's get into this. We got we have an incredible week ahead of us. Let me just tell you, there's a lot. There's a lot we getting ready to get into today. And I would be lying. I would be lying if I said it was planned the way it's gonna be shaping out. But hold on, let me just make sure we're all good here. I would be lying if I said it was planned the way it's going to be shaping out. But hold on, let me just make sure we're all good here. I would be lying if I said it. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. Good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time of day you're consuming this material. Like I'd say 95 to 96% of the material I put out there, it is evergreen, meaning it doesn't necessarily matter when you consume it, just as long as you consume it and you are going to be getting the same amount of benefits from it, whether you're taking this in live or if you're taking this in 15 or 20 years from now. All of it is going to be just as relevant. Today, we do what we normally do. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself, I guess, which I have a habit of doing, and I'm working on fixing the problem as we speak. I'm working on fixing this problem that I do. It could be a problem or it could be a solution, depending on the perspective of me just overlooking certain current situations and not actually addressing them and getting to the point a little too quickly. Again, I'm owning that as a flaw over here. So let me introduce myself to anybody that may be new to my world and maybe this might be your first time consuming my material, consuming my content. My name, Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, very soon to be 6-time published author and educator. What I do, what I created, what the whole Move Swiftly brand is all about is taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on a football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners and organizations so they have a staff and they have a group of employees that moves as efficiently, as eagerly, and they have that same passion that a championship youth or high school football team has. You want that passion within your place of business. All right. So as far as before I even get into what we're going to be discussing today, let me get through a couple of announcements because the announcements have sort of changed because I have to be ready for my circumstance to change. And my personal relationship has changed, and me doing what I have to do, and me being a teacher. And as we're approaching the summer, we're in the last month before June, we're in May. Now there's going to be a lot of transition. Again, not something I don't know. Me and the person that relocated from Maryland and just drove out to Florida without a job offer, a place to stay, or anything like that. I'm always kind of in that ready, set mode to transition to doing whatever I got to do. I've kind of set up a lifestyle in which I can bounce around and do what I need to do. But the announcement, I'm saying all that because the announcements used to be about free boxing lessons. Now I have officially opened it back up for business. All right. We are officially opening it back up for business. All right. If you are interested in being involved in a boxing themed boot camp, I have it officially set up. This weekend, I drove out I'm currently residing in Palm Beach, but I'm transitioning back down to the Boca Raton area because me and my significant other were trying to figure this thing out because she's like in Tamarack, I'm in Palm Beach, and there's a lot of conversation we had that I won't, I'm not going to give you details about, but pretty much Boca Raton has been a place where I've kind of been going a lot lately. Went to FAU spring game. I spoke to some people with their sports marketing department. And when it comes to myself and, me being an entrepreneur, me being the person that, again, can bounce around, can do what you got to do to keep your businesses flowing and keep things moving. The challenging part can be figuring out how you're going to land things that are stable and stuff like that. So, when I was in Boca a couple of weeks ago, and I saw the setup, I saw the proximity, and I thought about everything that I've already been and lived through being out here in South Florida. It just felt right. It just felt right. And I think every entrepreneur has to go through that. Every person has to go through that. Is when you live through a situation, or you have gone through certain situations and you've taken huge risks. You got, and even a person who's, picking a college, and you walk on the campus, it just has to feel right. And then I'll be 100% honest with you, Boca Raton just felt right. It felt right. Seeing I was at the FAU spring game, and some of the people that I was talking to when it comes to the sports management department and what it is I want to build. So what I have decided to do, and this took time for me to really think about it, is open up the boxing-based boxing boot camp that I'm very qualified to do. And so I do offer it every 2 weeks for free, but I'm going to start opening it back up 4 days a week. Only going to do 10 people a class. It's 25 per class. When you see the times right there, Sunday, 11 a.m., Monday, 7:30 p.m., Wednesday, 7:30 p.m., Thursday, 7:30 p.m. And this is it. Just go to boxing-themed bootcamp.com for the information. Okay. So that's, again, I'll have more of a detail. I don't have too much time to get into it right now. I'll have more detail as we go. Next thing, if you are a business owner and you have not yet, be sure to go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. Actually, you know what? Instead, I'm going to just start putting it, instead of just showing you guys the thumbnail, why don't I just God, there we go. I'm gonna just start doing that. There we go. All right, cool. I don't know why I haven't thought about doing that before. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, I just went to the website. I'm still new. I used to just show the thumbnail, but now I'm like, I just literally, as we're talking, I'm realizing, why don't I just go to the website and show you guys up front so you guys can see it. But if you're a business owner, if you have not yet, go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. Just put in your information and I'll send you over a free guide on how to make it so you can be using specific things now to make it so your staff, as the promise of my business is, your staff and your group of employees are working like an efficient team, like an efficient championship football team. That's what it is here. So go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. And if you're interested in the boxing lessons, go to boxing-themed bootcamp.makeyourmove.com. And after all that, if you just want to get to know me, if you want to just, who is this Aswan Cruikshank guy? Who is this person that is always showing up on my feed? That got a ton of stuff on the internet, all that stuff. The main website to check out is makeyourmove.com. That is the main hub for all the work I do. You can shop there. You can book me to speak. You can simply learn more about me, or just simply listen to the podcast. All right. So all that being said, and as I move forward with the newer announcements, trust me, they will be a whole lot cleaner, and we'll get through them a whole lot more efficiently than they just did. Just know that was my first time, making the new announcements, and I was thinking about a lot of things to get to that point. But here we are. Today's show. What do the numbers say? All right. What do the numbers say? And let me make sure that I have the Medium article is already written. It's already here. What do the numbers say? And let me break down. And for those of you who don't know, the way this works is I'll read the article directly, and then I, obviously add some commentary to it. And I usually keep these around 45 minutes. There were times in which I went for a whole hour, but seeing that I do have other obligations and things to do, I made the decision, and this is what business is about. And this is where we're going to get to a lot today. When you're talking about numbers, and you're talking about how you judge numbers, and you're talking about how to utilize numbers, you're talking about how you're making an adjustment and making a solid observation on people, solid observation on the people that you let in your circle and you let in your life. You got to use numbers in a way that is very fair, very understandable, and it's not as easy as, hey, this person makes that amount, so I'm going to draw this conclusion, or this business makes that amount, so I'm going to draw this conclusion. It's not as surface level as the world makes it. There's a connection between critical thinking, literally critical thinking and challenging things, and how to judge specific numbers. So the general tone in today's question is really, really important for you guys to understand as business owners, because you're making the wrong decisions. I guarantee you, a lot of you business owners out there who think you're making the right moves as a business owner because of a metric or a measurable that you're not really understanding, or that you think is leading to this result or leading to that result, that is a mistake. You have to really align critical thinking with what the numbers actually say. And I'll tell you what got me on today's topic, or this week's theme, is the fact that I do teach, and then I do hate with a passion, absolutely hate with a passion, math. I hate it. I hate teaching math. I hate teaching it in the traditional sense that the school system creates. In this, I'm going to memorize some stupid ass quadratic equation that I'm not going to use for the rest of my life. I'm going to memorize this formula so I can get an A or B on a test, and all of a sudden I know math. I'm going to memorize these things just for a test and never actually utilize math in a practical way. I hate it. So this week I was teaching a math lesson to the students, and they were getting incredibly frustrated. I was getting frustrated because first of all, I hate the way the whole setup is when it comes to math. I hate the way the whole thing is set up. That's number one. But also seeing I had to teach it, some of the students, when they don't get a problem, at least like it is when it comes to every student, when they don't get a problem, they check out. When they don't get a math equation, when the stuff gets too complicated, just like some adults, they simply check out and they decide, okay, I ain't gonna do it, and this, that, and the third, and it turns into a huge argument. And what I was kind of reflecting upon was, hey, there's a way of teaching it. There's a way of making a kid who may not like math, there's a way of making it important for them to understand the concept. And I would not have come to that conclusion had I not had this person that you're seeing right here on the screen. His name is Coach Mike Hibbs. All right. Mike Hibbs was my literature teacher when I was in high school. And Mike Hibbs was also the basketball coach. He's also the head basketball coach at Good Counsel High School. I went to Good Counsel High School, by the way, in Albany, Maryland. And he was one of the first critical thinkers, like real deep thinkers that I've ever met. And there's always kind of been this sense out there that critical thinkers and mathematicians and scientists and those kinds of folks, they don't get along because the critical thinker is going to challenge the conventional way of thinking, and the mathematician and the scientists and like your accountants in the world and stuff like that, they're going to judge it strictly by the numbers. And to my surprise, Mike Hibbs was an advocate for math, right? Mr. Mike Hibbs, I remember the question coming up, and I'm going to read it in an article in a second, but the question actually came up, hey, don't people like yourself not like math? And he goes, no, we love it because it trains the brain to think logically. It trains the brain to keep you away from this dreamy state and keeps you, just like, actually, I'll show you here. Just like when I was putting this together, right? I putting the boxing theme boot camp together. I had initially sent out, hey, this is going to be like 65 a class. And then I sent it to my significant other. I said, hey, is this something that you would do? Is this, I wanted to get her opinion. And 25 per class, 10 people only per class, all that stuff came from conversation that I was having with another individual. Regardless of the type of relationship it is, the conversation should be trained logically. Hey, this is what the numbers say, this is how it is. So me as the person that has the critical mind, that's where things merge. This is a very important concept, all right? Very important concept, because we as entrepreneurs in many ways can get to a point where we're just so stuck in this dreamy phase. You need to have that balance. And this is something, again, I'm not talking at you as if I figured that part out. Talking to you as an individual that's in the process of figuring this very thing out. This is why my content's so authentic. This is why I can do what I do every single day without stopping, and consistency. So one thing I talked about in my first book, right? The book I wrote 2019, about 6 years ago, first one, Swiftly. What the world is starving for is authentic communication, honest communication with people that are, you most of the time you see them online for the first time. First impression of them is being online, because there's so much shit on the internet. Who's being authentic? Who's being transparent? Who's just telling you what the situation is and then working through whatever it is? That's what it's all about. All right. So let's get into the article now. Podcast listeners, I am reading directly from the Medium article. And if you have not followed me on Medium, make sure you do so, because book number 6 I will be doing a deal. I'll probably be doing a lot of promos for all of my Medium followers. The medium.com. It's not as popular as a platform as obviously Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and all that. But Medium is where a lot of writers, people like myself who want to flesh things out from a writing standpoint, and just put it all down. That's where a lot of us go. And also, if you have not, also be sure to like, comment, and share and subscribe and all that good stuff to this video. Tag someone who you think needs to hear it. Tag a business on the tag, and tag people that really are struggling when it comes to how do I create a system that's going to lead to solid employee development. That is what I work towards here, employee development, and making sure that I serve my clients in a way in which they're implementing systems and putting things in place to where an employee comes to them with this mindset, and for the next year or 2 years, however long that employee stays, their mindset and their experiences, they have grown professionally in a way that is unforeseen. That's what this system is all about. All right, so here we go. What Do the Numbers Say by Aswan Cruikshank, a Make Your Move Monday reflection on effort, mindset, and math. By the way, this picture is of Mr. Mike Hibbs. He was my literature teacher my senior year in high school. And he was also the basketball coach at Good Counsel, the head basketball coach. So obviously, again, and we'll hear more about this in the article. All right, another Monday is here. And if you've been following along, you know what that means. It's time for another Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. The weekly spark meant to launch us into action, just like a football kickoff starts the game. These questions aren't about easy answers. They're designed to shift our mindset and challenge how we approach life. This week's question: what do the numbers say? Sounds vague, I know, and that's exactly why I love it. Before we break it down, let me give you some context. Right now, I work as a teacher, not licensed by the state's standards, but more than qualified by life. I'm a multi-published author, a Division I athlete turned educator and entrepreneur, and someone who's seen enough to speak with conviction in any classroom across the country. My current stop is the Center for Creative Education, and on the surface, it's a solid fit. Still, I've always known traditional teaching wouldn't be my long-term path, especially because of my deep-rooted dislike for math, like I had mentioned before, right? Yep, I said it. I hate math. I never understood the way it was taught. Formula after formula crammed into our brains for a test and then forgotten forever. Real talk. I graduated college with a 1. I got literally a 1 on my math competency assessment. For reference, 0 was the lowest you could score. All right. So I want to make sure I'm on the record saying that and making sure you guys understand. I am not ashamed to say it. I got a 1. I got a 1 on the math competency test, and the 0 was the lowest score. And I was like, you know what? Look, I'll take whatever the hell it is I got to take for the math requirement, and I am done. I swear. I had such, and the crazy part about it too is I had such a high level of ambition going. I mean, not had. I still do. I still have this same kind of ambition and very ambitious person. I walked into college and I said to myself, it's going to be a athletic trainer. Yes, because when I got to the school that I wanted to be at, Stony Brook University, right? And this was a year, this was after 2 years. So Carson Newman College, I'm in Tennessee, tear my ACL. And then my sophomore year, I couldn't play because I had knee surgery, and I was at a community college and I was working at a gym, right? So what made sense was for me to become an athletic trainer, right? It just made sense seeing that, hey, I know what the injury process is like. And, when I got to Stony Brook, I said, hey, I'm going to be an athletic training major, and I was going to minor in business. Like, that was my ambition going in, not realizing when you play football at Stony Brook, hey, being an athletic trainer and all that stuff, because it sucks up so much of your time doing these things, that a lot of the majors that I had considered going into college were just not, it just wasn't going to happen. It just simply wasn't going to happen because of the time constraints and all that kind of stuff, right? So anyway, I before I started playing at Stony Brook, I went out there that summer and I took a financial accounting class and easily dropped it. Couldn't I was like, yo, there's too much math in this. It's just too much math in this, because being a business minor, like I planned on being, you had to take financial accounting as a prerequisite. And I was like, yo, too much math. I'm good. I'm going to figure out another way to be successful in life, because this math thing, I couldn't stand it. And especially if you're talking about a financial accounting class, it's literally what they do. They're memorizing formulas, memorizing things, and it goes against so much of what I enjoy doing. So the financial accounting part, again, I always would be more than happy to outsource that part of it. Now, basic math and, knowing how much to charge so I can make this much and stuff like that. Stuff like this, 25 per class, 10 people per class. There we go. The numbers went in my head. Boom, that's 100. If they come for all 4 days, that's $100 a week. You times that by 10, you make in what, 1,000 for the week, with all the people you get. I was able to do math like that. That's not something that you have to memorize, just knowing your numbers in terms of basic stuff. But the formulas and the spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff, I was like, yo, I'm good off that. I'm good off that. So, all right. So where we at? The lowest you can store is 0. So imagine my frustration when I'm standing in front of let me go back a little bit, just because I might have gotten you guys, I might have threw you guys off there. So now I never understood the way it was taught. I'll go back to, yep, I said it. I hate math. I never understood the way it was taught. Formula after formula crammed into our brains for a test and then forgotten forever. Real talk. I graduated college with a 1 on my math competency assessment. For reference, 0 was the lowest you could score. So imagine my frustration when I'm standing in front of a classroom trying to walk students through a math problem and they just stop trying. They check out. They give up, not because they can't do it, because they don't even want to try. That mindset, that's what gets me fired up. All right. So that's where this entire topic and the entire theme from today comes. All right. Just because you don't like something, just because something may be a challenge to you, just because something isn't going to be naturally just going to pick up on it naturally and you have to work towards it, just because that is the case does not give you the excuse to simply blow it off and just say, fuck it, I don't know how to do it, I'm moving on. That is the mindset that I will make sure I root out of anyone that gets close to me. I can't have people around me that have the mindset, or I get frustrated when I'm around the people around people that, okay, because shit ain't working out exactly the way you get, or shit isn't happening in a natural, so shit isn't happening to the point where you just are able to pick up on it without any work. You have no effort, no ability, no mental fortitude to actually tough through situations and say, okay, I'm going to do what I can. That is the part that I get frustrated with. And that is the part where this question really hits home for me, is because the numbers, if you're talking about numbers now, the numbers are going to also show how much you're trying. The numbers are going to show how much you really pay attention to people. The numbers are going to show how much you give a shit about your life and how bad and desperately you want to be successful. The numbers are going to show that too. All right. The numbers are going to show. There's ways of measuring those numbers. And again, life experiences has taught me, hey, when you measure when you look at the way someone is actually spending their money, when you look at the way someone is actually living their life and how much they're actually trying, you can count how many times that kind of stuff can be proven. All right. I'll never forget was a great book I read. Let me see if I could pull it up real quick so you guys have some. I think his name was Frank Murphy. Frank Murphy books. Think it was Bucks. He used to play for the Bucks. Let me see if I can pull it up. Frank Murphy. Yep, and he has this. Let me see if he has it up. Yeah. Book. No, it's right here. It's right here. I got you. Yeah.
What's up? It's your boy Frankie Murphy.
All right. Yeah. This is it. Yeah. Behind the. All right. So when I first got out to Florida, I was in the St. Petersburg area, and obviously that's near Tampa. And I went to this event. I went to this. Oh man, he got a nice little setup. This is my first time seeing it actually. So yeah, this is the book I read. I read this for the podcast listeners. I'm looking up at Frank Murphy, frankdmurphy.com, and he has a book out called The Man Behind the Helmet. I met him, but I also read the book. So I met him at this event. And he gave this great, fiery speech. He gave a fiery speech to a group of young high school boys. He used to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and obviously he invested his money well and all that kind of stuff. And he went, he lived through a lot of situations. You can guys go read the book. It's called The Man Behind the Helmet. And in that book, he said that money is only going to give a person an opportunity to be who they are, who they really are, who they truly are, and what they really value and what they're really all about. All right. So it's all a mindset. And that's the thing that frustrates me the most about the school system is these math formulas are created to distract the person from how they actually judge numbers the right way, judge effort, judge what a person's ability is, and judge how you put together actual future curriculum and future lessons. That's where you as parents and you as people that get close, whether it's uncle, parent, whoever the adult is in the kid's life, in their personal life, you got to be able to teach them how to use their discernment and not just look at numbers on a surface level. You have to teach young people how to use numbers and teach them how to dig a little deeper when it comes to numbers, because it's not just a surface level conversation. It's not just about being on a surface level. And I'm back to reading from the article directly. This is how I learned how to do it personally. All right. So that mindset, like I said, that mindset gets me fired up. In those moments, I think back to my days as a student. I think about the teachers who really moved me. One in particular always stands out, Mike Hibbs, my senior year literature teacher and head basketball coach in Maryland, also known as a certified basketball hotbed. All right. His lessons weren't just about books. He challenged your mind. He made you think. One day, someone asked him, Coach Hibbs, don't all you deep thinkers, you readers and philosophers, don't y'all hate math? And his answer shocked me. No. All right, let me park it right there for a second because I want to give you guys real context. I want to give you real context in this, all right? I want to say, it was so when my senior year at Good Counsel, we started out at the old location. We started out as what's now known as the old location back in Wheaton. It was right there. I can't believe I'm blanking on the street name. But it was near it was in Wheaton, and it's right there, walking distance from Wheaton Mall. I can't believe I'm blanking on. We used to drive that street that's crazy that I'm blanking on today. That's how you know it's been too long. I gotta head back to Maryland at some point. I was there for a quick trip for Thanksgiving. But anyway, during the year so the reason I'm bringing up the location is because that year, that first semester of the year, the first part of the year, we spent it in Wheaton, and then we transitioned to the school that they're at now in Albany, which is a bigger campus and a lot more. It literally looks like a college campus, and it took them some time to build out the new Good Counsel's campus, right? So it was at that location, a brand new location. Everything is still fresh and it's new and all that kind of stuff, right? So we had a brand new classroom and things were just new. It was just new, right? So when it was actually he was a former teammate of mine. Shout out to Sully. We used to call him Sully, short for Sean Sullivan. Also played linebacker with me. And he too was very, like, I remember having conversations with him about how he would love to just have a conversation with Mike Hibbs because of the way he taught. And again, we're as seniors, we're now thinking about our life after sports. We're accepting, hey, that dude's NFL, I'm not. That's senior year when you play football your whole life. Anybody that can resonate with me knows there's a 99% of you guys out there that can resonate with me when I say this. Time you get to your senior year of playing whatever sport you're playing, and in my situation it was football, you start looking at cats and you say, okay, that looks like an NFL player, and that don't look like me. 99% of you guys can resonate with that feeling, right? So Sully had asked him. Sully was like, hey man, don't you guys, and again, this is Mike Hibbs. At this point, he's been, going off on all sorts of books, and he's a literature teacher, and his mental, all the philosophy. So picture like a Phil Jackson type guy. This is why I put the article right here. I want to make sure I honored him, and I said some kind words, but I want to kind of remember and reflect upon his philosophy. And I've personally read several of Phil Jackson's books, and the Zen and all that. So I could only imagine how his mindset was in regards to Phil Jackson and Sacred Hoops. I've read Sacred Hoops. The rings, the one where he had all 11 of his championship rings, the last season when he was with the Lakers, and all that kind of stuff. So again, I was that person, so I could only imagine how much of his material he took in. And these basketball coaches' minds, man, they got a lot going on. In fact, in my second book, let me show you this real quick. I even put a picture of it here. Hold on 1 second. The basketball coaches are seeing that we're in bed. That's Doc right there, and he's designing plays on the spot. There's a great deal of a foundation that a basketball coach requires. So it's interesting. It was interesting to watch him do his thing, and then be in literally a literature class with him, right? So anyway, Sully asked him. He goes, hey, don't you guys hate that math stuff because they're only looking at things like really by the numbers, and this is 2 + 2 = 4 and all this kind of stuff. And again, in a philosopher's mindset, sometimes, hey, 2 + 2 might equal 5. 2 + 2 might equal 6. If you do this, and you think about this, and where did the numbers come from? We as critical thinkers can start going all over the place when you get the mathematician to say, listen, 2 + 2 = 4. I don't hear any arguments. I don't hear any philosophical mumbo jumbo, but 2 + 2 = 4. And then you have the philosopher mind that's also, oh, well, 2 + 2 necessarily can maybe 22 if you add, all that stuff. Again, we had assumed. So Sully asked the question from the standpoint of, isn't there a real conflict? And that was the answer that he was expecting to get. I was expecting to get, like, yeah, there's a real conflict between the mathematicians and the philosophers of the world. And Mike Hibbs, surprisingly, and the reason it sticks so much is because so much of him saying no to that question, right? When he said no to that question and he said, hey, no, that is not the case, it actually helps us. The math actually helps us because it trains us to think logically. It trains us to actually put a equation together to say, if I do this, then I'm able to do this, and I'm able to measure it by this. And then my strength and my critical thinking ability actually becomes a benefit to certain situations because I have the ability not to look at a surface level math problem, but I can look deeper into where the numbers are coming from and why this is happening, why that's happening. And then that's how you actually grow. So he broke down the answer just like that. And as I have grown up since that time, I realized how much my philosopher, my critical thinking mind, my dreamer state, my entrepreneur mind can become a detriment if it's not corralled by the right person to keep me thinking in terms of dollars and cents and what's measurable, what's possible, what exactly do you need to do from a financial standpoint to achieve this result, and then utilize my mind with someone that has the logical approach. All right. That's how great that answer was. It was literally something that happened probably over the span of maybe 10 seconds, if so long, that has had years of an effect on me because of how he said it. And to answer the question, for those of you who don't know, but to answer the question, what the numbers say is it shows how much effort you're putting in. How much effort? How much do you give a fuck? How much do you grind? How much do you get yourself back up when you had a shitty day? And trust me, I'm telling you right now from experiences, there are going to be some shitty days, capital S, shitty days. And you don't got time. No one cares about your problems, folks. No one. You don't got time to wallow in that shit, especially if you're in a situation like me where the kids and the colleagues and the teachers and the people that I'm around every day are expecting an energy. They're expecting a certain level of energy, a certain mindset, a certain way you bring it to work, and whatever your personal shit is going on, you can't bring that shit to work. You can't be the one and only move swiftly speaker and start letting your personal problems affect what it is you have going on here. That's the key. And that's what when you talk about what the numbers say do you show up when it's time to show up? I say it all the time. I talk about it all the time because I first heard Dre say this years ago when I first got, linked into his work. Nobody rises to the occasion. All of us, every single individual out there just falls to the level of preparation. You fall to your level of preparation. When the pressure is on, do you say, okay, I can own that. I'm taking that. And let's take action towards it. Let's not spend a whole lot of time wallowing in your bullshit. Do you take action to fix the problems that you need to be fixing? That's when people are inspired by you. That's when people want to work with you. That's when people are willing to strategically put things together and say, okay, I can support in this way. That's what the numbers have to say. The numbers have to show how much effort are you actually putting in. That's the key. All right. That's the key. When you align my critical mind, my critical philosophical way of thinking with the thinking of a person that is in dollar and cents, extremely objective, and person like my father who has run his own architectural, I'll probably talk more about this tomorrow, but runs his own architectural business for years. Hey, he loves math. He absolutely loves math. I'm the opposite. Obviously, I hate it. Hey, but if you connect the two in a way, then that's where growth and development actually happens. So let me get through this article because I see I'm getting closer to time here. That mindset, let me go back. So imagine my frustration when I'm standing in front of a classroom trying to get students to whoa, hold up. Right, you already read that part. Okay, his answer shocked me. No. He explained that math trains let me put this up. Reading directly from the article, podcast listeners, back to the article. All right. He explained that math trains your mind to think logically. It gives you a way to measure effort, to track how someone improves, to see the patterns and that lead to progress and ultimately smarter decisions. That changed everything for me. So when I asked, what do the numbers say? I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about social media followers. I'm not talking about stats on a spreadsheet. I'm talking about effort. How many times did you try before you gave up? How often did you push through instead of checking out? What are your results saying about your habits, your growth, and your mindset? Because when you start measuring the right numbers, the internal ones, your life starts heading in a direction you couldn't have even dreamed of. Action step: if you're serious about transforming your mindset, measuring real progress, and building team culture that thrives on effort and accountability, visit makeitmove.com and inquire about our employee development workshops. It's time to take your growth and your teams to the next level. Right here, we need to park these questions. I'm gonna leave these questions right here on the screen. And we're gonna spend the next I got about 5 minutes left before I gotta jump off. But we're gonna spend the next 5 minutes or so talking about all three of this and specific examples about what I mean when I say when I ask all three of these questions. Number one, first of all, How many times did you try before you gave up? This one's incredibly self-explanatory, and it's incredibly important for you to get across the minds of young people. This is why right now, again, I don't have kids of my own, biological kids of my own. And it's crazy to think about. I have had conversations about why I want to homeschool my children that don't even exist yet. All right. For this very reason right here. I will literally, all right, live underneath a damn bridge before I let my children get caught up in the worldview that it's okay to just give up on shit before you can try, before you actually put your ass, just everything you got into something. And if you fail, it don't work out. Hey, you tried. You can rest at night. You can sleep at night knowing that I gave my all. How many times did you try before you gave up? That's what I mean when I say, what do the numbers say? If it's, oh, hey, man, I tried to get this job, or I tried to, make this sale for this person. I tried to get whatever it is, you fill in the blank on whatever dream it is, whatever goal you had. I tried it once. I sent 3 emails, right? I sent a text message. I called one person. I left a voicemail and never followed up. I never created. Like, if that's what I'm hearing, then you don't deserve success. You don't deserve to actually be in my circle. If that's what I'm hearing, right? That's number one. So how many times did you try before you gave up? Now, if you busted your ass and you went and you called this one and you reached out to this one and you showed up in person and you paid the money to be at this event, you paid the money to do this, you did this, and you absolutely gave it everything you had, and then you learned something along the way, then it's not giving up. It's you learning what you had to learn in the process. Hey, that particular goal that I had in mind, that when I started, it didn't work out, but I learned a shitload of stuff in the process, enough stuff that, hey, I could go run my own thing. I can go build up my own business. I can go do my own thing and get things done the way I want to get it done. That's mentality, folks. That's mentality. And that's when you're able to measure that in the person. Stuff really starts to get clear for you. Next thing. How often do you push through instead of checking out? This process sucks. It sucks. You're going to get told no. You're going to deal with rejection. You're going to deal with people that you genuinely want to work with. That'll give you 2 of those, 2 solid Q. All right. And can you push through during those times? Do you have the mental fortitude to push through during those times, to really see what a person's actually saying off the surface level of whatever may have been coming out in the text or in something that they said offhand, or they reacting to emotion? Can you push through during those times? But do not check out. Do not check out. It'd be the worst decision that you could possibly make. And finally, what are the results saying of your habits? Okay. So again, myself, I'll put it out. I will put it out there because you guys can look at the numbers that should be discouraging to me. I put out multiple posts a day, multiple material online a day, and I would be lucky, or be surprised if I got one person to even like one of my posts, to get one like. Yet, Google my name right now, just so you guys know I'm not bullshitting you. Boom. The results still become the results, right? I'm still among the people. There's still a circle. There's still more books. There's still opportunities that I can use to create without having, a huge social media following, a bunch of people liking my stuff. So there is no damn excuse. All right. There's no excuse. It's about pushing through, and the results become what they were supposed to be. Not necessarily what you expected them to be, but the results will become what they're supposed to be if you're paying attention and if you're putting forth the effort. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a whole week of this. All right. This is just literally the kickoff. That's why it's called the Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. We're just kicking things off this week, and we're going to dive into numbers and how they work and how you're able to truly measure what a person's all about, where a person's going to be because of a mindset with measurables absolutely is going to tell you everything you need to be knowing about an individual. And if it's a person you want to be dealing with, we're not, whether it's romantic, professional, friendship, I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, the process is going to be the same, regardless of how you look at it and regardless of what you are wanting from that particular person. The numbers are going to tell you everything. The numbers are going to tell you everything. You just got to know how to judge the numbers, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about tomorrow in Top 5 Tuesday. Top 5 Tuesday tomorrow, we're going to be talking about top 5 ways to judge the numbers, and we'll dive into more discussion about that. In the meantime, if you are interested in employee development workshops, and you want more of this, you want this energy, you want everything I'm bringing you want me to bring that over to your staff and help build out a system to where your staff is constantly improving, just go to makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.